What's going on, guys? Welcome to a mini update video podcast thingamabobber. Uh, we're going to be doing a little bit different of a video today. In this video, I'm basically going over just a few little things that have occurred over the past week and a couple reminders, too, for tomorrow, which by the time this video is uploading, it's going to be today. So, which, in case if you've been living under a rock, it's E3 I'm referring to, and I'll get into that in a sec. So we're going to go over the server transfers today I'm going to be talking about and our plans, at least currently what we have set in place, what we're thinking of. Because I know everybody's been asking me, like, what server you going to? You going to this server? How about that server? Can I find what your server going to? I'm like, okay, I'll let you know when I find out. Because I have no idea. But you know what? We have a plan down, and I'll go over that in 1 second, but we're also going to talk about the 1.0 character transfers from the original game to A Realm Reborn. So if you're an original person that was part of the original game, we'll talk briefly about that on the post that they had on the LODESTONE, as well as the 3 blog posts that came out recently. So just a mini update, but let's get right into it so we don't drabble on for too long. First, I want to start off with the E3 reminder. So they started a forum post on the LODESTONE forums for asking questions, because there's going to be two Letter from the Producers live. There's going to be a Japanese and English version, sort of, kind of, if that makes any sense. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do that, but I'm assuming the Japanese team's going to be on the first one at E3, and then on the final day, they're going to have like the English team community members, like Bayonne, Kamate most likely, I think Fernhalis is going to be there too, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Now, this schedule is only for the Letter from the Producer, okay? Now, don't get confused and only expect there's going to be 2 days of E3 for 14. There's actually 3. The reason they show 2 is because that they're doing the Letter from the Producers on the first and last day. The second day of E3, they're going to have this battle challenge where I guess attendees can fight an easier version of Ifrit, and if they beat him, they get one of those Meteor Survivor t-shirts that we saw way back when they did the previous Gamescom stuff and whatnot. Touring of 14 around the globe. So that's what you can expect from there. Now, just a friendly reminder of the schedule, in case anyone missed it in the last video, or wants just like a recap. June 11th, okay, is June 11, 2013. This is, for some reason I thought it was Monday. That's Tuesday, actually. Keep getting those confused up. But yeah, the 11th, apparently. But, I don't know. I think the 10th it starts too, I think. But, well, anyway, for the sake of this schedule, just not to confuse anyone, it says here it's the 11th, okay? It's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's 4 p.m. if you're on the West Coast. Now, they don't show the second day, but the second day is identical schedule to the part 1, okay? So the second and first day of E3 for Square Enix is, or at least for 14, is going to be 4 p.m. Western Pacific Standard Time, and 7 p.m. Eastern, okay? Now, the third day is the only different day. That's the one where it's a little bit earlier. All right, so it's 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for the final day of E3 for them, and then it's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? So that's June 11th through the 13th, but I believe E3 overall picks up tomorrow. Or, like I said, today, depending on when you're watching this video. So, I'm still not 100% sure on everyone's schedules, but I'm mostly watching Square Enix and their stuff. And to go along with that, to segue, I want everyone to go over to this channel, Square Enix Presents. And the reason I'm saying this is because they've done 3 videos, promo videos so far, showing off what they're going to be doing. But basically, all you have to do is just click the subscribe button on the Square Enix Presents channel. And when they start live streaming from those dates that I just read off, they're going to have 14 footage, other Final Fantasy game footage, like possibly Lightning Returns, if you're into that game. They're also going to have, what was the other one? I know there's another Final Fantasy. I'm not the one on the PS4. I think they have another one too, which it's kind of hard to believe, but, you know, this is Square Enix we're talking about here. So they're going to have oh, that's the other one. Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD. That's the one I was thinking of. So they're going to have all that stuff there if you want to check that out when 14 is not being shown off. and they'll also have other Eidos games that if you don't know, is another branch of Square Enix. So they'll show off like Deus Ex and I think maybe I don't know if they'll show not Tomb Raider because that just came out. So what the hell else? I know there's two Deus Ex things they're showing off, and I believe the other one is Thief, along with this other crime game, this mystery crime game of you playing as like a detective or something. I forget what it's called. But it looks interesting though. So if you want to check out any of that along with Final Fantasy as the main point, subscribe to this channel for the temporary duration of E3, and then they'll probably close it down after, or maybe store the stream as like an archive or whatever. I don't know. So yeah, head over there if you haven't already, and be sure to stay tuned because this is going to be going live throughout these dates that I listed off right here. Okay, so that's the E3 stuff. Getting that out of the way. Now we move over to the server talk. All right, now everyone's been asking me about this, and I feel really bad that I couldn't answer their questions before, unless it was like privately or something specific. But we had a talk with the LINKSHELL. What we were basically doing before I read any of this off, we created a poll. All right, so there's some people that wanted to stay on our server, which is Riddle, which is staying as a Japanese server, by the way, so you can probably guess why we're considering moving. But there's some people that wanted to stay because they didn't want to leave their friends and whatnot, and then there's other people that wanted to leave for various reasons. Now, we're also, our LINKSHELL leader, Galu, I don't know if you know him if you're on our server, but he has been he's been doing like this amazing job talking to like everybody on the server, like all the major LINKSHELLs, finding out like where they're going, what their plans are, how to all stick together, stuff like that. So basically we create a poll, and then the other LINKSHELLs created a poll, and what we did was we were going to pool all our results together to see like what the general consensus was. So at first I wanted to stay on my server Riddle because I mean that's where I've been for the past 3 years. That's where my whole character grew up, and I met people on. I have this history on it and this attachment to it. But at the same time, there's good reason to move to a North American and European server. Possible better latency, although I can't say anything because of NDA, but that's probably not going to be that big of an issue, let's just say, judging from other people's quote-unquote feedback. So I can't get into that, but basically I don't know if it's going to be that big of an issue or not, so I'll have to test it out personally in Phase 3, because you get to choose whether you want to play on a Japanese or mixed server or whatnot, so you can see which, how the latency is on both of them, if you prefer one or the other, or if you don't mind it at all. Another couple reasons is if we stay on a Japanese server, we basically have access to the Japanese population, the stuff they put on the auction house, diversity, stuff like that. It is kind of sad, but at the same time, we'll be playing in a better environment, I guess you could say. I don't know how much better it's going to be. Like, this kind of speculation right now, it could be just about the same. It could be a slight difference, but regardless of what happens, there's always going to be some latency here and there, so you can't really do much about that. But I don't know. I just have to wait and see, and I guess time will tell. But so you're probably saying to yourself, well, shut up already. What server are you planning on going? Tell us, for Christ's sake. All right, well, fair enough. My first choice was actually Excalibur, okay? Why Excalibur? Why not? It's got like the coolest fucking name. I mean, I'm not too familiar with the other names because I haven't played all the Final Fantasies yet. I know. I own them all on PSN, but I have not been able to play through all of them except for like 4, 5, 7, 9, and obviously 11 and 14 and some of the spin-offs, but a lot of these names I'm not very familiar with. And I know it's kind of stupid to like pick a server only because of the name, but I like to have something that has like some meaning behind it. I don't want to pick like, I don't know, I don't even know what the hell Durandal is. I mean, every time I hear Durandal, I think of Duran Duran. Like, I'm like, I don't want to fucking be on a server with that name. I mean, no offense to people that are on that server. I just thought, I always call it Duran Duran because it's so fucking funny the way it's spelled. I'm like, hey, it's the Duran Duran server. but Excalibur, because I remember you get Excalibur from Gilgamesh, and I think it was Final Fantasy V, and then you get the actual one later down the road. I forget how though, and then you get as a relic weapon in Final Fantasy IV, I believe. So I was like, oh, that's a familiar weapon. I recognize it. It's a cool name. Everyone knows what Excalibur is. So I'm like, oh, let's maybe go there. It's got decent population. Hopefully, it's not overcrowded because that would suck. Um, but like I said, that's not 100% set in stone. Okay, we're not definitely going to Excalibur, but right now that's our top choice. Where me and Galu, who's again my LINKSHELL leader, we really want to go for there. As it's at least one of our top choices. So I have a good feeling about Excalibur. I don't know anyone from there. I don't know if anyone's watching this that is from there, but if it hasn't been made obvious by now, we're going to a North American European server definitely. We're not sticking on a Japanese server, which is unfortunate for certain reasons because I'll be leaving behind people that are probably staying that I don't have contact with. So if anyone that's watching these videos, that's been watching these videos, that knows me, like from the server, and actually wants to stick together with me and my LINKSHELL and people that are attached to me, I've been getting messages on my Guildworks account and here and there asking about like what our plans are. So my buddy Atsoko, I don't know if he watches these, but if he is listening, uh, I'm gonna try and get him in our LINKSHELL because he hasn't been in it yet because of the crazy stuff that's been in and out of LINKSHELLs in the past. But we're gonna try and get him in on our server. And I don't know if my friend Dante Valentine watches these videos, but if anyone that watches these knows him and knows how to contact him, please like figure out some way to get in contact with me and let me know where he's going and what his plans are because he's most likely gonna stay on Riddle and he has no idea what we're doing. So I would really like if I got him and a couple other peeps on Excalibur with us, if that's where we really do go to. So for people that are wondering what server I'm going to be on, I know I used to say it was Riddle in the past, because that's where I technically am right now, but me and my LINKSHELL and a lot of other people are going to be doing a mass server transfer to Excalibur. So as long as that server doesn't become overcrowded and something like negative pops up between now and then, that's probably where we're going to be going. So I'm just throwing that out there to give everyone a heads up and an early start so they're not like wondering where to go. All right, so keep that in your mind, like write that down, Excalibur. So now you know. All right, so I just wanted to get that basic thing out of the way because I know a lot of people have been really wondering, and I would love to get a lot of new players and existing players in our LINKSHELL because I'll be honest, we're kind of a small shell. I mean, we're kind of a small knit group of friends that play. We're not huge, so we don't really have people constantly cycling doing content. Like, we really struggle to get enough people on at the exact same time because of people's schedules and stuff and jobs. So getting more people in and leveling them up to 50 and helping them out and getting them to like end game hardcore content like we do, that'd be fucking awesome. So if you're interested in that, I've already been contacted by a few people. I also met this guy on YouTube, Sergio, who's watching this right now, I'm sure. Met him on there, and then we traded contact information on Skype. So he's actually going to be coming to our server once he finds out watching this video where I'm going, and he'll probably be joining us doing our hardcore endgame stuff. So if anyone else is interested in that and needs a LINKSHELL, you just want to hang out and bullshit with people and like do hardcore stuff and joke around, uh, let me know. I mean, we can use all the good players we can get. So don't be shy or anything. I mean, I'll be honest, we get desperate at times trying to find replacements when people have to go to work or whatever. Because, I'd say 70% of our LINKSHELLs from California. I'm from Florida. My LINKSHELL leader's from Argentina. I got another player who's from the UK. I got my other buddy Sirocco who's from fucking Australia. So we've got really crazy schedules, and not all of us are on all the time. So you have to factor that in as well. But just throwing that out there for another reminder. So all right, so basically, to go down the list, it says version 1.0 on the left-hand side and Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn servers on the right-hand side. Now, Riddle, Masamune, Durandal, Aegis, and Gungnir are all staying as Japanese servers, okay? This doesn't mean they're exclusive to Japan, okay? I don't want anybody that's new to, like, freak out. All those servers are available for any player on the planet to go to. The only difference they say, like, the change is because Sargatanas, Balmung, Hyperion, Excalibur, and Ragnarok are basically, excuse me, are basically being, the servers are going to be in, I think it's in a North American Square Enix area, so it's not going to be set in Japan, so the server latency is better, in theory. I don't know, I have not tested it yet. I've been on a Japanese server for 3 years, so we've had to deal with latency and like 3-second delays and shit on combat and content, so hopefully this fixes that, or at least greatly diminishes it, but like I said, based off what people have been saying about alpha and beta, I can't speak off my own personal opinions, but based off what people have leaked or said outside of the forums, it's been a much big improvement. So I don't know how big of a difference it's going to be, but that's basically what servers are basically becoming North American European side. Okay. So also it says that Ragnarok is basically going to be an area that European players can flock to if you don't want to deal with North American players in their time zones or any other crazy time zone that doesn't match with theirs. Now, they say Ragnarok isn't exclusive to Europeans. They're saying that that's the preferred zone that or server you can go to if you want to play with Europeans. So it's usually a ghost town, but I would really recommend people, if they want to, they don't have to, but if you really prefer playing with Europeans in your time zone and you don't really like playing with people outside of your area as much, I'd recommend going to Ragnarok and try and build like a strong following there and get that server to flourish, because that one's kind of been struggling from what I hear on the forums sometimes. So, but that's completely up to you. That's just a little bit of a tip that Square Enix has been throwing out there. So it's only a recommendation. It's not only for them. Okay, so world transfers. It says to guarantee characters are placed in the appropriate region, we recommend submitting a world transfer application. As the NDA will be lifted as of Phase 3 of the beta test, you may freely consult with your friends in or outside the game before submitting your application. Players are free to transfer their characters to any region they desire. Requirements. Required applicants must have characters on the Final Fantasy XIV service account. So you basically have to have a character already created if you want to transfer servers. If you're creating a new character, this doesn't really apply to you because you haven't even selected a server yet. So this is only for pre-existing players, just so people don't get confused. Application period. Applications will be accepted starting mid-June. So if the 14th is when, basically the day after E3 ends and the day that Phase 3 starts of the beta test, I'm assuming it's either going to be that day, the day before, or the day after, or sometime really close to that weekend when beta Phase 3 starts. If not, throughout that next following week or weekend, that application thing is going to appear. That's my assumption, okay? I could be wrong. That's just a guess by when they say mid-June. It also says an announcement will be made at a later time when the date has been finalized. World transfer date at the start of beta phase 4. So you have basically the entire duration of phase 3 to test out the connection on both Japanese and North American / European servers and to see which one you prefer. You still have plenty of time to talk to your friends, communicate with them throughout in and out beta and forums and LINKSHELL sites and whatnot to see where everyone's going and what you prefer the best as your final decision. So you have plenty of time. I mean, it's no rush, but don't procrastinate too. Get on it if you really need to figure out where you're going. World transfer application process. During the world transfer application period indicated above, players will be able to select the destination world on the world transfer application page. So it's basically a page that's specifically created for world transfers. It says the world transfer application page will go live at a later date, so it's not available yet. So don't go looking for it until I update everyone on that. Notes regarding the world transfer. All character data will be transferred with the following exceptions. Character names. After the transfer, if 2 or more characters with the same first and last name, not one or the other, you have to have both identical first and last names for this to apply. Not if you have the same first name as somebody, not if you have the same last name as somebody. Only if they're both identical first and last names. It says, if two or more characters with the same first and last name exist in the same world, only one character can keep the name, based on the order of priority below. Now, I already seen tons of player character names in the past. There's at least, I can pick out a handful, blindfolded, of people that have basically names that are ripped from either animes or something else that's popular. It could be anything that someone else shares on another server. So let's say for example, my friend has a name called I don't know, Hot Potato. Hypothetically speaking, it's not really someone's name, but let's say Hot Potato is someone's name, and he's on Riddle. Let's say he goes to Excalibur, and there's also a Hot Potato. They're both conflicting because they have the same name. So this is what happens if that ever occurs with a player. It says, number 1, characters that qualify for legacy status take priority. So what if you both have legacy status? Okay, here's the next thing. Characters whose subscriptions have ended September 30th, 2012. So what if they were both on the same subscription plan, they both ended at the same date after the game went down? Okay, well, here's the third option. Characters that were created first. Basically, if he created his character first, you're fucked. If you create it first, you win. So that's the 3 rules, okay? And that's all the different points that you have to make when you're addressing your name. In the event that your character must be renamed, please enter a new name by following the on-screen instructions when you first log in following a world transfer. Players may voluntarily rename their characters even if their name takes precedence. Okay, retainer names. The names and appearances of retainers as well as any items in their possession have been carried over from version 1.0. However, players who transfer worlds will be required to rename their retainer. So for me, I'm going to have to rename my retainer. Hopefully nobody shares the same name as them because I actually use friends' names in real life for my 2 retainers, which are actually twins. So I named them both and created them somewhat to be like, have like a little bit of a personal backstory to them. So hopefully nobody else took that on Excalibur because that would suck if I had to rename mine. But, they're retainers, so it is what it is. But basically that's what would happen if you transfer a server and you have retainers. You'd have to rename them because in a case where there's like 50 gazillion retainers on the game because people have like multiple characters, you're obviously going to run into someone who has somewhat of a similar names sometime down the road. You know what I mean? Especially since they only have one first name. They don't have a first and a last name, making it a little bit more limited. Okay, so it also says, you can please review the details of character data transfer in this link, but we're going to get to that in a second. It says, all items held by retainers will be carried over, so you're not going to lose anything, so don't worry if you transfer servers. It says in link shells, in the event a link shell master moves to a different world, a new master will be selected automatically from the remaining members. So let's say one person from our link shell stays on Riddle and everyone else goes to Excalibur. Basically, that link shell that they hold will be deleted and all the friend information will be deleted as well. And I'm going to get to the friend part right now. Although friends list and blacklist will be carried over from version 1.0, players no longer in the same world will not be displayed. So basically, if you leave the world, you're no longer going to have them on your friends list. It's just going to disappear and delete itself. It also says, please note that players who were on a friends list will appear as pending friend requests, which you must accept. Because the friend list in 1.0 was more of like a bookmark thing. It was more like a bookmark application sort of pop-up window. It wasn't really a true friends list. So anyone that was on that friends list in 1.0, you're going to have all these pop-ups on your screen as soon as you sign in for requested friend requests and accepted friend requests that you've sent out and so on and so forth. So you're going to expect that when you log in. Unless they've switched servers, that means they won't count because they'll be deleted and you won't have them as a friend pop-up when you log into the game. It says the Lodestone. A new version of the Lodestone has been created. Both versions will be available concurrently for a brief period of time. The current version will then be archived and made viewable through the new Lodestone. Data, including blogs and character history, will no longer be updated. Alright, so I think that's pretty much been covered in the past, but okay, that covers the original data centers and world transfers. Now moving on to a little bit of a meatier post, this is probably going to be the bulk of this video, is transferring character data to Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn. This is June 5th, 2013. Alright, so all character data from Final Fantasy XIV version 1.0, hereafter referred to as version 1.0, will be transferred to Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn, hereafter referred to as FF XIV A Realm Reborn, or ARR, whatever you want to call it. Data will be transferred for all Final Fantasy XIV service accounts with pre-existing character data, regardless of subscription status. So, if you canceled your subscription, if you are actively subscribed, if your subscription ended at a certain point, whatever it may be, as long as you have characters in an account that have not been deleted yet, they do carry over regardless of your subscription history. So, don't worry about that. So, to sum it up, if you have a character in an account, you're going to have it transferred over, regardless of what you've done the past 3 years. So, yeah. Okay, so where did I leave off? Extensive changes have been made to various items, abilities, and game systems, which will affect players with existing character data. The details of these changes have been outlined below. And this is in red I'm reading now. Version 1.0 data migration testing will take place during beta phase 3. So they're going to be testing transferring 1.0 characters over to the new server as a test. It's not permanent. That's not until phase 4. So that's one of the things they're going to be majorly focusing on in phase 3. Also, all transfer data will be deleted upon completion of phase 3. Like I said, it's only temporary. Phase 4 is the actual one. It says, however, version 1.0 data will be transferred again at the start of Phase 4 and be carried over to the official release. See? That confirms it. Circumstances may necessitate the deletion of character data during Phase 4. In this event, character data will be transferred once more before the start of official service. Now, what they said is basically if you do PvP in Phase 4, it's going to delete your progress because it doesn't want to give an unfair advantage or something to other players that have not been able to play yet, I'm guessing. Or because they have to reset something on the server in time for launch. For whatever reason. I don't know, use your imagination. I mean, it's pretty obvious if they say they can't, if they can't save certain data that they have to delete it and then refresh it again before launch. So just be on the lookout for that. Don't be surprised if some progress in Phase 4 gets deleted, but, you know, it's not 100% confirmed. They're just saying it's a possibility, so don't surprise yourself. Okay, so worlds. For Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn, additional data centers have been established in regions outside of Japan. And this is the stuff we just covered in the previous Lodestone post. It says version 1.0 character data has been transferred to these regional data centers and will be subsequently transferred to worlds bearing the same names as before. In the event that your character data has been transferred to an undesired region, we ask that you submit a world transfer application. Applications will be accepted during Phase 3, and transfers will occur during Phase 4. Please read over the details of the world transfer before filling out the application, which is just what we covered. So I'll have that in a link so you can read it again if you want to. You know, just to study it and whatnot. Get yourself prepared. All right, now characters. FF XIV A Realm Reborn has been created with an entirely new graphics engine and has also seen the addition of new races including Highlander females, Makote males, and Rogadin females. In light of these changes, players will be given the opportunity to change their appearance of version 1.0 characters. All aspects can be altered, including race, gender, and name. And it says in underline now, please note that changes can only be performed once. I repeat again, please note that changes can only be performed once. Once you change that pre-existing character, unless it's the hairstyle or whatnot from the barbershop or the rumored beauty salon that's going to be possibly implemented, the barbershop's already confirmed. Everything else other from like the hair and whatnot, you cannot change again. So if you're not happy with certain aspects of your 1.0 character, be sure to get it right the first time. Don't let your LINKSHELL rush you. Don't let your friends rush you. Take your time. Sit in there for like 4 hours if you have to, because I know I am. I'm going to be slightly tweaking my character just because I wanted to make him look more like me, because in the original game it was a little bit limited what we had to mess around with. So hopefully I can make his hair a little bit darker and maybe make his face a little bit more slender or whatnot. So I'm gonna definitely not let. I'm gonna be like, I'm not gonna have Mumble on or anything while I first boot up the game for the first time on launch. So hopefully the week in advance will help me out with the collector's edition status and all that other hoopla. But yeah, just that's a huge reminder because I don't want anybody to like end up messing up their character and then end up living it with for the rest of their lives and unhappy with it. So the hairstyle, don't worry about because that you can always change with the barbershop that's being implemented. I think in the first major patch or so after release. The beauty salon, which is for like face paint and all that stuff, that's not been confirmed yet, but it has been mentioned that they are working on getting it in the game, but it hasn't been confirmed when it's going to come. So anything like that, don't worry about. If it's like your height, if it's your muscle tone for your character, I guess if it's your, um, I think hair color is included in a hair salon thing, so I think you're okay there. But anything else, just especially just like your facial features, is basically the main part you have to really worry about. Get it perfect the first time. Sit in there for like 5 hours or whatever if you have to. Whatever makes you comfortable. So like I said, I'm not letting anybody rush me. I'm not going on Mumble and talking to anybody in my link shell when I first get on the game. I'm sitting there. I'm going to just like absorb myself into the game and the world. I'm going to get my character as perfect as I want it until I'm completely satisfied with all the new options. Then I'm going to boot up, do the main scenario, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll probably, like, once I get, like, because I'm going to probably do, like, not necessarily, like, a playthrough, but I'm going to do what I did in the past in 1.0, where I basically do, like, a series of videos and stuff. So I haven't really thought it out yet, but for right now, that's my default option. But I know I'm rambling on a little bit, so I apologize. But I just wanted to say that's a huge important thing for people to keep in mind when they get the game for the first time and mess around with their characters. Okay, next part says selecting version 1.0 characters for the first time. Regardless of gear worn during the final save of version 1.0, which was November 1st, 2012. God, it's been like, what, 7, 8 months since then? Holy shit. Um, version 1.0 characters will be shown wearing race-specific starting gear. So if you're a 1.0 Legacy or Standard user that's making a comeback on a Realm Reborn with your existing characters, you're going to be starting in race-specific gear. You're not going to have your materia melded, dark light fucking gear on and all that shit. I don't know if relic weapons or if your main weapons count, but I know for gear-wise, they're going to start you off with race-specific stuff, so that's okay. So it's either going to be in your inventory or it's going to be on a certain NPC, which we're going to talk to once we scroll down in a sec. But I just want to finish up this part right here first before I get to that. Where did I leave off? Modifying version 1.0 characters. The appearance of version 1.0 characters can only be modified when logging in for the first time after the start of official release. You cannot perform changes during phase 3 of the beta test, and it's underlined, and I'll repeat one more time. You cannot perform changes on your 1.0 character during phase 3 of the beta test. Okay? It says for the first time after the start of official service. Okay? So this is basically on launch day. So if you have early access, I think it also includes that into the factor as well. But don't quote me on that one because I'm not 100% sure. But whatever. Okay, so it says in red now, if you believe your version 1.0 character data has been improperly transferred, please contact the support center. So if anything wrong goes in with the transfer, which I pray to Christ for everyone, including myself, that that does not happen. But if it does, they have a link for contacting the support center. And yeah, you can work that out with them and they'll get you situated, hopefully. Hopefully. But hopefully none of that ever happens, so hopefully no one has to use that. Alright, that's a lot of hopefullys. Anyway, starting cities. When logging into Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn for the first time, your starting city will be determined by the starting class you choose. For example, selecting Pugilist will place you in ul'dah, and selecting Marauder will place you in Limsa Lominsa. This is to ensure that your characters start in the city that houses their guild. So for the majority of 1.0 players that maxed everything out, if you're like me, you're going to be doing Arcanist 100% when you start off right off the bat. So I don't know if that counts for because they said 1.0 players basically get a different intro from new players. I don't know how far out that statement means. I don't know how long the intro is. I don't know if you start in a different area. I don't know if you skip the entire intro sequences for the main cities that normal players would experience. I think I read somewhere that you do experience it, just you experience something unique first. I don't know. Honest to God, I cannot tell anyone watching this video because it's still pretty fucking vague, to be honest with you. So, even if I wanted to answer anyone's questions, I honestly can't. I really don't know how in detail the differences are going to be. So I'm going to hold off answering anything about those yet, but I don't know if that means if I get a special intro, being that I'm a 1.0 player, and then it basically throws me into the Leonesaurus story or something because I choose Arcanist. I have no idea. I really have no idea. But basically, if you are a new player and you do pick Arcanist as your starting class, you would start in Leonesaurus. And since that's my main city from 1.0, and Arcanist just happens to be the new class that's situated there that I have not maxed out yet because I maxed everything else out in the fucking game, that's what I'm going to be doing first. And then obviously I'm going to be playing Dragoon as well because that's my other favorite job that I've been playing for 3 years on. I'm going to get all the abilities because you have to unlock them all again. So I'm going to be doing that for like when I have to go through like level 50 areas or something. I'll switch to Dragoon and I'll switch back to Arcanist and level it up and use all the leave quests and fates and all that shit for leveling them up and getting up to 50 as fast as I can. So it says Arcanist will not be available during the beta test. Players cannot start as a disciple of the hand or land. So they got rid of that in this game. So the story could be more action combat oriented rather than being a fucking botanist throwing rocks at shit. Which, to be honest, was pretty fucking silly. But attribute points. All allocated tribute points will be reset. Please be aware that the number of points available for redistribution may differ due to the rebalancing. Thank Christ they're doing that, because I fucked up my attribute points. Don't ask me why. It's a long story. Classes and jobs. Version 1.0 characters will retain their class and job levels. Unlike new characters, they will immediately have access to the armory system and possess the ability to change classes. Also in red it says, Grand Company gear can only be equipped if you are enlisted in the corresponding company. Fisher will not be available in Phase 3. Okay, so just to recap, it says Grand Company gear can only be equipped if you are enlisted in the corresponding company. So when you start off the game, you have to basically join the Grand Company again because it's been 5 years since the end of the battle or whatever at Cortanu Flats with the Empire and the Grand Companies of Eorzea. And when Bahamut emerged and blah, blah, blah. So you've basically been out of service. Now you got to reapply again. But you get to keep all your ranks, your current rank, and your points that you accumulated, which I forgot what the hell they were called. Company points, company seals, that's right. You got to keep those, I heard. But for the gear that you purchase, like if you have a tabard or a weapon that you got from the Grand Company, you can't equip it yet until you join it again, so... Also, Fisher is not going to be in Phase 3, which is a huge disappointment because there is this one guy I've been seeing on the forums multiple times, like, asking about it, and that guy's going to be fucking pissed, man, because he was pissed when they didn't answer his questions in the live letter, and he's going to be even more pissed when they're not letting him play as it in Phase 3. And I understand because I'm actually really curious to see how much they change Fisher. And plus, I love fishing in games if it's really good, and the concept of fishing. I just thought it was poorly done in 1.0. I thought it was fucking garbage, as a matter of fact. Probably the worst job I had to level. It was fun a couple times at first, but if you're just sitting there all day leveling it, it gets so boring. So hopefully it's more like, I don't know, like Legend of Zelda fishing, which I doubt it's going to be like, but that would be awesome if it was. Or even like Harvest Moon fishing. Something as simple as that is more interactive. I don't know, something cool, hopefully. Something that people enjoy as a minigame. But, yeah, sorry, Fishers. Not going to be available in Phase 3, unfortunately. So, dream on until then. Classes and jobs. Version 1.0 characters. Oh no, I already read that. Whoops. Okay, where did I leave off? I keep losing my place. Okay, actions. Certain classes and job actions have been altered as a part of the battle system revisions. Class actions. In Final Fantasy XIV and Realm Reborn, certain actions such as Piercing Talent and Fluid Aura can only be obtained by completing class quests. The version 1.0 characters will also be required to complete these quests in order to acquire these skills. So if all your characters are maxed out, you basically have to replay these quests again to relearn them, because essentially they are new skills. Okay, they're completely different from how they used to be, or at least they're tweaked in some fashion. So you have to do all. If you're like a master dragoon or black mage, you have to do your class quests again in order to obtain certain abilities and other stuff that you obtain from those quests. Okay, so it says job actions. All job actions obtained in version 1.0 will be carried over to Final Fantasy XIV and Realm Reborn. Please note, however, that these skills have been rebalanced. Quest. All main quests, side quests, class quests, and job quests have been redesigned in Final Fantasy XIV and Realm Reborn. Assuming quest requirements are met, all version 1.0 characters will be able to undertake these quests. So that means that I think that means that you basically are able to redo them all again, or if you never did do them, but you have the requirements ready for continuing certain quests, they will pick up where they left off. I don't know. I mean, you can interpret that different ways. Maybe somebody can fill me in on that, because sometimes I misread things, but it sounds like you're able to redo them again with the new revitalized quest and story mode that they've added into this game. Completed quests from version 1.0 will be viewable in the journal menu. So what that means is there's like a journal called the, what was it called? The Unending Journal? Unending Journey? I forget the name of it, but it was basically this book that was on your desk in your in-room. And each in-room had one of these, along with a bed that you can log out and accumulate rested XP bonus. And if you sit on and you can go back in my videos on my YouTube on archive, and you can actually see me sitting on a bed going through all the cutscenes and stuff. So that's how we used to do it back then. They're also keeping that for A Realm Reborn. So if you're a cutscene fan like I am with these games, then you can go back and rewatch them all. You can record them all, whatever you like to do. I'll probably be doing that again, just for the sake of people that would like to sit down and watch them. Okay, so where else did I leave off? Version 1.0 quests will not be viewable during Phase 3, so don't expect them to be available come the 14th, but they will be in the game at a later date, most likely Phase 4 or launch. Although the side quest, The Relic Reborn, has been changed, all progress made in the quest has been saved. The side quest, A Relic Reborn, will be available following Phase 4, so I thought this meant it was going to be available in Phase 4, but I talked to my friend, and he's basically telling me what it means by following is basically it's going to be following after Phase 4. So it's going to be right at launch. So for people that were worried that Ifrit and the other pre-existing primals were not going to be available at launch, they are. So basically, since Garuda and Ifrit are part of the Relic Reborn quest line, you get to they're going to be there from launch, so you don't have to worry about them being implemented or redone at a later date. That's already ready. As a matter of fact, they're showing Ifrit off at the second day of E3. They're going to show him off and see what his fight actually looks like now, which I'm really fucking pumped about, because I'm really curious to see how that fight's going to work, and with all the changes of the battle system. Not necessarily because I want to see what the easy and hard modes are like. I'm interested because I want to see what the extreme version is like, because I got all the way up to the end of the Relic Reborn quest, and I ran out of time. I was not able to get the fucking Relic quest done and get my Gabolg for my Dragoon by defeating Ifrit. And we were so fucking close. Like, we had like a quarter of life left, and we were so close to mastering this fight. But with people's schedules and stuff, and trying to get people their Raven earrings from Vandarnis and all this other shit, it was really tough. And if we had like an extra month, we totally would have mastered the fuck out of that fight. But we were so close, and I was like emotionally like destroyed when I couldn't get that, man. Like, I was just like beat the fuck out. I don't want to hear anything about it like after the game shut down. So I'm really pumped to get back in with the rest of my shell and get everyone their relics and stuff, and then go back and get other people's that were left on the dungeon section and stuff. So that's our first priority when we get in the game. Luckily, my LINKSHELL leader Galu got his though when we were on online with another party, so I'm glad somebody got one. So that's one thing to be happy about. Okay, let's see what we got here. Sorry, I was rambling on a bit, but that's just for 1.0 players that were curious about the relic quest. Items. This is the interesting part here I was talking about earlier with the NPCs. Items held during the final save of version 1.0 have been transferred to Final Fantasy XIV and Realm Reborn. However, some items have been modified or removed. And it says in red now, items such as arrows, throwing weapons, and certain crafting materials have been automatically converted to gil. Please refer to the list of obsolete items. And you can go here and actually click on this, and you can see all the obsolete stuff. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to link this, and you can check it on your own if you're curious. But yeah. Items not found in your inventory can be retrieved from the Calamity Salvager NPCs. They can be found at the following locations. So you see on their names this is Calamity Salvager for each one of them. They got certain unique gear on, so it's easy to identify them. So they have Leonesaurus Upper Decks, Old Gridania, and ul'dah, the Merchant Strip, Steps of Thal. You can find these guys. So if you're from Limsa like I am, you're most likely going to be using the guy on the far left, the male Makote. If you're from ul'dah like the majority of people, you're going to probably be using the old Sir Arthur looking guy on the far right. And if you're from Gridania, you're going to be using the stick figure in the middle, aka the Elzen. Alright, the location of the Calamity Salvager NPCs may change their release. So that's not finalized, their positions, but that's just saying what they are right now. Retainers hired in version 1.0. The names and appearances of retainers as well as any items in their possession have been carried over for version 1.0. So all the items that were in your retainer's inventory are still going to be there. Unless they're no longer in the game, they're going to be converted to gil. So don't be surprised if you have a big gil intake in your retainer's pockets when you sign online. It says players will be required to rehire their retainers by speaking with one of the following NPCs. So they're not going to be available right from the start. They're going to be saved, but you have to rehire the same ones that you had in 1.0 for them to come back into your services. Now there's Friedwib, Parnell, and Chichabi, which Chichabi looks awesome. A little cute Lalafell retainer mistress. And that's in ul'dah for the Merchant Strip. And then you got Parnell and Old Gridania. There's a cool Herb retainer person thingy. And then we get Friedwib, who is like the She-Hulk in my city. Limsa means the lower decks. So, hiring retainers with version 1.0 characters. Unlike new characters, version 1.0 characters can hire retainers immediately without the need to clear any particular quest. The appearance of retainers from version 1.0. Players will be allowed to change the appearance of retainers transferred from version 1.0 one time only after the start of official service. You cannot change the appearance of retainers in your employ during the beta test. However, releasing and rehiring a retainer will change their appearance. Please note that in doing so, all items held by the retainer will be lost. The Inn Armory. In order to access the armory inside the inn, players must unlock access to the inn by progressing through the main scenario quest line. What the armory is for people that have not played the game, the armory is basically where you store all your event items that clog up your inventory space. You store all your your job artifact armor, which is the stuff that you see in all the trailers and promotional art. You can also put in collector's edition items and pre-order stuff or whatever. That's like a piece of gear, like an onion helm you can stick in there. So basically that shit that's like only for show, you can stick in the armory, which is like an exclusive extra storage space. Okay, so basically think of the storage boxes from Resident Evil. If you guys know what I'm talking about, that's essentially what the armory is like, except it's only for unique and untradeable items, stuff like that. Okay. Where did I leave off again? Spirit Bond and durability. The Spirit Bond of all gear has been reset to 0%. So if you had Spirit Bond gear at the end of the game, it's going to be all reset back to 0. So you have to Spirit Bond it again. The durability of all gear has been reset to 100%. So if you had any gear that was fucked up or whatnot and you didn't get it repaired, it's all 100% now. So you don't have to worry about that. Dated gear. Overall, dated gear is less powerful than gear obtained in Final Fantasy XIV and Realm Reborn. Class requirements have been removed from dated gear. Although dated gear cannot be dyed, some of these used colors are not available in Final Fantasy XIV and Realm Reborn. Dated gear cannot be enhanced with materia. So basically, dated gear is from 1.0. It was gear that's obsolete now, but if people still held on to it, it's not going to be deleted. You can still use it. So basically, no one else in the rest of the history of Realm Reborn can obtain that gear. Only the people that got it in 1.0. The flip side is, it's basically a useless piece of shit. It's only being worn around by people that essentially want to show it off and stuff like that. So, to be honest with you, dated gear, there's really like not even anything that good that was dated in that game. I think the only dated gear I liked was like this crafting doublet that I used to use. And aside from that, like, there's really nothing else to hold on to that stuff for. But that's player's choice, so it's up to them. The monetary system, crystals, and inventory limits. Please refer to the lodestone for detailed information on the following changes to items in the monetary system. It lists gil, crystals, inventory limits, items removed from game, items converted to gil, items that to become unobtainable, items to become untradeable, items to become unsellable, small clothes, gear dyeing, waste gear, recommended class to become required class, changes to gear attributes, high quality items, and obsolete recipes. Now we move on to materia. Oh boy, materia. In accordance with revisions to the battle system, adjustments have been made to the materia system in Final Fantasy XIV and Realm Reborn. Unlike new characters, version 1.0 characters already capable of creating and attaching materia can use the materia crafting system without the need to complete any particular quest. So right off the bat you can use that shit and test it out. No quest required since you've already done it. Link shells, friends lists, and blacklists. Any changes to the player names will be reflected in link shells, friends lists, and blacklists automatically. So essentially I already read this shit off, so I'm not going to read that again. I'm just going to skip down at grand companies, which is a lot more interesting. Version 1.0 characters will be required to progress through the main scenario quests in order to enlist in a grand company. Enlisting in a grand company. Players will have the opportunity to choose a different grand company. So if you're in the Order of the Twin Adder and you're not happy being there and you rather go to the Immortal Flames, you can do that now. Alright? Ranks and company seals. Ranks and company seals will be restored to players upon re-enlisting in their original grand company. Players who choose who chose a different grand company will receive no such benefits. So you won't get any of your ranks back or any of your seals. You'll have to start over. And it also says that if you're from the Maelstrom like I am, and let's say that you're a lieutenant, you're a storm lieutenant, and you have a bunch of fucking seals that you got from doing Atomos, which people that played Atomos know exactly what I'm talking about. All that stuff was not going to be in your inventory or on your character's profile when you first start the game. You essentially have to rejoin that grand company throughout the main story as it progresses, and eventually it makes you it introduces you to the grand companies of Eorzea. It encourages you to join one. When you join one, then you get your rank back and all your company seals as soon as you re-enlist and take your old job back. If you pick a new one, then you don't get any of that back. You start from scratch. Okay. The ability to transfer to a different grand company will be implemented in an update following the start of official service. So it's going to be after launch, basically. Mounts. This is the good stuff. Personal chocobos. Although version 1.0 characters will not be enlisted in grand companies initially, those who possess a chocobo whistle will be able to summon personal chocobos. So even though you're not in your grand company, just like in the end of an era trailer, when it shows like the main characters are whistling for their chocobos as soon as they get warped into the future, their chocobos come running out through the forest and they jump on them. Well, basically the same thing happens with us. We get our chocobos right off the bat when we come into the new world, but we're not going to be in a grand company yet. But we still have the whistle, so they're still under our they're basically we still have them under our control or whatnot, whatever you want to call it. They're still your pets. You don't have to join the grand company to have access to them. Now, here's an interesting thing, though. It says, in Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn, chocobo whistles are no longer key items. If there was no space in your inventory for the chocobo whistle, it can be retrieved by speaking with one of the Calamity Salvager NPCs. Personal chocobos will be equipped with the barding worn during the final save of version 1.0. Players can change the name of their personal chocobos by speaking with the Wandering Minstrel NPC, standing near the Grand Company headquarters in each of the 3 cities. Grand Company barding will only be available after enlisting in a Grand Company. And now it says here, should a version 1.0 character enlist in a different Grand Company, their personal chocobo will remain equipped with the barding used in version 1.0 until it is changed by the player. So I think what that means is, if you have Maelstrom barding for your chocobo, and then you sign up with the Order of the Twin Adder, I think what they're saying is you'll essentially have Maelstrom gear on your chocobo, even though you're from a different Grand Company. So I think you can probably have both Grand Company chocobo barding. I don't know if that's what they meant. Maybe I'm misreading it, but that's what it sounds like, which would be kind of weird seeing players with like access to 2 different Grand Company chocobo barding. That'd be kind of interesting to show off. Okay, so it says Gubus. Like the chocobo whistle, the Gubu horn is no longer a key item, and then that factors in with the the Coeurl whistle too. So, which is another mount. Other system maps. Areas that have yet to be visited by a player will not be displayed on the map. These areas will appear automatically as players explore. So it's all going to be blacked out or fuzzied out, and as you explore, it uncovers on the map. Kind of like you see in RTS games and stuff. Teleport and Aetherytes. All Aetherytes in Final Fantasy XIV and Realm Reborn have been reconstructed. As such, excuse me. As such, version 1.0 characters must first attune themselves with these new Aetherytes before they can teleport to them. Furthermore, anima is no longer required to use teleportation. Instead, players must pay fees in guild based on the distance to the destination. Macros. Macros from version 1.0 will have not been carried over. And it says the Lodestone. A new version of the Lodestone has been created. Both versions will be available concurrently for a brief period of time. The current version will then be archived and made viewable through the new Lodestone. And then it says, an announcement detailing the transition to the new Lodestone will be made at a later date. When players are no longer able to log into the current Lodestone, blog entries, character biographies, LINKSHELL profiles, and posts and LINKSHELL forums will no longer be available for editing and or deletion. Please note that the only blog entries and LINKSHELL forum threads that have been set to public will be viewable in the archive. The following information on the Lodestone will be archived: character biographies, past blog entries, uploaded photos, history, list of followers and users being followed, icons obtained from seasonal events, and LINKSHELL profiles and LINKSHELL forums. Please review previous topics for further information on the Lodestone and the transition to the new Lodestone. Holy fucking shit, that was a lot. But that ends the Lodestone portion of all the updates. So I'm going to have that in the link in the description if you want to look over that in case you forget anything. And now we're going to move over to the final section of this mini video, which actually still seems like a pretty long video. But nonetheless, we're going to start with What's in a Name? June 4th, 2013. Greetings everyone, Fern Hollis here. Oh my god! It's less than 2 weeks until the launch of the 3rd phase of the beta test 1.11.1. Oh my god! Yes, but you didn't come here to watch me get all hot and bothered. You came here for the deep fried, juicy, golden brown nuggets of exclusive info, with your choice of barbecue, honey mustard, or sweet and sour sauces. Well, my friends, dinner is served. I bring to you tonight world server names. So right here, it shows the world servers that are going to be available for pre-existing and new players. I know, server names aren't quite as sexy as pics of, let's say a new job, but it's something, right? I'm not going to say that Yoshi P's hoarding all the cool stuff for E3, but Yoshi P's hoarding all the cool stuff for E3. And so, without further delay, your Beta 3 world names, new worlds, which are based off enemies from Final Fantasy, Group Japan, and Group NA in European. So Japan gets new servers for new players, listed as Atomos, Bahamut, Chocobo, Garuda, Ifrit, Mandragora, Ramu, Tiamat, Titan, and Tonberry. For the North Americans and Europeans and everyone else, We get new servers based off monsters such as Adamantoise, Behemoth, Cactar, Kowurl, Diablos, Gilgamesh, Goblin, Leviathan, Marlborough, Midgardsormr, Ultros, Cerberus, Moogle, Odin, and Shiva. While Cerberus, Moogle, Odin, and Shiva are all basically European based, the rest are going to be NA based, I'm assuming, or global. Legacy worlds used for 1.0 data transfer. So the Japanese are going to be Aegis, Durandal, Gungnir, Masamune, and Riddle. And then the ones that are going to be converted and become North American and European servers are Balmung, Excalibur, Hyperion, Sargatanas, and Ragnarok. As you can see, servers are divided up into two groups, JP recommended for Japan, and NA and European recommended for North American and Europe. Remember, just because a world is recommended for a certain region does not mean the world can only be joined by players from that region. The recommendations are based solely on the physical location of the world servers. I personally pushed for a FINALIZED server, but it was shot down because, unlike the cool kids Odin, Shiva, Bahamut, and the rest, I've not appeared in any Final Fantasy titles. We'll have to do that. We'll have to do something about that. FINALIZED. Alright, so that is the first one knocked off. Now we go to the second blog entry, Soundtrack 4, The Voyeurs Home. This was June 6, 2013. Hello all, FINALIZED here. Final Fantasy XIV sound director and resident NISOC inspector Masayoshi Soken came to my desk this morning and asked me if he could throw something up on the blog. I was ready for another round of tail shots, but something had changed. Here's what he had to say. Sorry, and this is Soken talking right now. This is his portion of the blog. He says, "Sorry for the recent lack of updates, everybody. It's been a busy month for me and my team. What with Phase 3 of the beta test right around the corner, and then the final release right around the corner after that. It's not like I didn't already have enough work, but no, the big P has to stop by my studio and say, I want to do something special for E3. Make me something epic." Only epic, you say? That'll be a cinch. I have something right here in the top drawer of my dash. But the order has been given. There was no turning back. Anything less than mind-blowing would be deemed a failure. A blemish on my soul, and thorn in my pride. This was E3 we were talking about here. This was Final Fantasy XIV we were talking about here. And so my team and I kissed our wives and our girlfriends farewell, and locked ourselves in the studio for 6 days and 6 nights with nothing but bags of shrimp chips and tall lattes. We worked our fingers till they grew raw, stared at our screens till our eyes glazed over, blared music until our ears bled. And on the 7th day, it was complete. And it was good. But good wasn't enough. It needed to be epic. And for so the final mix, we went to Hollywood and bent the knee to sound-alike Scott Gershon, veteran sound design expert for countless multi-million-dollar motion pictures, and our very own New Beginning trailer. And he smiled and nodded, and he sent this picture. So you can see in the picture, here's the guy they're talking about. This is Scott Gershon, who is the sound design expert, and they're showing the Final Fantasy XIV logo on the screen up top. So I'm guessing this is a part of the trailer they're going to be showing at E3 this week, which I'm really excited about to see. So you guys can all look forward to that. So this was one of the guys I went to in Hollywood behind the trailer you guys are going to be seeing eventually. So keep that in mind. It's going to be something pretty epic, hopefully. Hopefully this is not being hyped up too much in an understatement, but we shall find out soon enough. Soken also goes on to continue by saying the trailer was now epic. I must have watched it 1,000 times that week, and I still get goosebumps with each new viewing. Hopefully all of you will feel the same. Talk to you all again soon. Soken. And now back to FINALIZED by wrapping up by saying, he's right, it is epic. Next week, guys, FINALIZED. And it shows all of them sticking their feet up in the air watching the new trailer in the sound studio. Oh, man. I guess they give the trailer 6 feet up. Oh, that was bad. Anyway, we go to our final blog entry, Leaving on a Jet Plane. This one just came out yesterday, I believe. This is June 9th, 2013. Well, actually, I'm recording this almost, which would be considered yesterday, so it is technically still today. It's still Sunday. So, yeah. Sunday, June 9th, 2013. Okay. FINALIZED here again. Hello everyone, FINALIZED here, chilling in the departure lounge at Narita International Airport, munching on peanuts and pretzels, waiting for the 10-hour flight to Los Angeles in E3. I still have a few minutes before boarding, so I thought I might post a few screenshots from the Phase 3 beta version going live next week. Those of you who participated in Beta Phase 1 and 2 have already seen the opening cutscene for Gridania, but here's a little taste of the opening for LINKSHELL and ul'dah, and a couple of shots of the touched-up Gridania opening, just for good measure. You can see ul'dah here. You have the Final Fantasy XIV text title showing off on these front gates of ul'dah. And then you see the Chocobo Escort, which is pulling your starting character into the city of ul'dah, sort of similar to how it was in 1.0. You see an NPC riding a Chocobo alongside you, another one on the far left, and two Chocobo carriage pullers pulling your character along with a couple other NPCs in the back. And here you got Gridania's logo with the Final Fantasy XIV showing off the entrance to Gridania. Look at... Oh my... I gotta zoom into this. Look at this thing, man. You got a Chocobo sipping down a bottle of fucking bourbon, man. It's like, oh, I'm the Moogle man. I'm in Final Fantasy XIV. Oh, where's E3 at, man? I want to see all the new jobs and shit, Cupo. What are you looking at? What? Have you never seen a Moogle before? What are you, some kind of faggot or something? I'm just gonna go to my room now and just cry about how my pom-pom's not big enough for the rest of y'all. Whatever. So that's the Moogle acting all drunk and shit, sipping down some friggin' whatever the hell that is, like friggin' wine or whatever. Oh my god. Now you got the LINKSHELL title screen showing off the entrance from the ferry docks, and then you got the two new NPCs, which are the twins. Alphinaud, I think, was the name of one of them, who was shown off in a previous video I covered when they were doing the Nika live stream. They showed off the character for the first time in the concept art. I goes, wait, was that Moogle downing a bottle of vino? What is the ESRB going to say about that? Talk to you all again from LA, FINALIZED. Alright, so that wraps up the latest blog entries for Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn, and I apologize for my drunken, offensive Moogle impression. I guess you'll see him in game if you start in Gridania eventually. So it's pretty funny, just fucking Moogles sipping down a bottle of friggin' ale. An angry drunk Moogle. Like, fuck Final Fantasy XI, Final Fantasy XIV for all, man. I'm the drunk Moogle, man. Everybody loves the drunk Moogle. Bunch of haters. Alright, so now that the drunk Moogles gave his signing off message, I'm going to wrap this video up, and I think I've covered everything. So, also, another reminder. E3 is starting, since it's half an hour until basically Monday. Whenever the hell the 14 stuff starts, whether it's they start early tomorrow or if they actually start on Tuesday, I'm going to be doing a daily recap. So basically what I mean is, let's say the first live stream goes and there's all this info and video footage and all this crazy shit that's blowing your mind. You're like, oh my god, information overload, what the and you know, I'll be doing a recap video after the day's done, and it's just going to be talking about basically my thoughts, my opinions, my what I'm feeling about what's been showing off, my excitement level. And I'll basically be informing everyone that didn't really catch everything or that missed it entirely because of work or whatnot. So, just throwing that out there. So each day I'm going to attempt my best effort to try and get these in each day for the 3 days they're showing off the game. So I'll be talking about Final Fantasy XIV, the battle challenge section that they're going to have on day 2, which is the 12th, I believe. They're also going to be having it's rumored that the Arcanist trailer is coming out at E3 sometime, along with more info on Scholar. The new trailer and new gameplay footage, among many other things. So I'm going to be covering all that, and possibly I'll be throwing in other Final Fantasy games as well. I'll probably talk about 10-2, 10 and 10-2 for HD, which if they mention anything, I'll throw that in there. And I won't really get too much into Lightning Returns because I'm not too crazy about that game, to be honest with you. But I'll say some basic stuff in there for people that want to know it or what they talked about just casually. But the main focus is going to be Final Fantasy XIV, so don't worry about that. But I'm going to be watching the live stream, which hopefully all you guys will be too. So don't forget to subscribe over there. And I'm going to be mostly watching that, going back and forth between GameTrailers.com and their live stream coverage that they do. But they're not going to be focusing on Final Fantasy because they never fucking focus on 14 like ever. So I'm going to be using the Square Enix channel for that. I'm going to be flip-flopping between IGN and GameSpot and all these other fucking sites. So mostly I'm going to be using those ones. But I'll be on the live stream watching that. And I'll probably be watching along with you guys if you're there too. So that's going to wrap this video up. If you have any questions, if I left anything out, be sure to let me know. Anything about servers or whatnot or anything else. And I hope you found this video informative, enjoyable, and I will see you when E3 is here. Catch you on the next one, guys.